All right, it's Board of County Commissioners, Bradford County, Florida. It's June 17th, 2025 at 6:30. At this time, I'm going to ask Commissioner Spooner to open us up with a prayer and flag salute.
Heavenly Father, we humbly submit ourselves to you today. Thank you, dear Lord, for your love and your kindness and your blessing. Heavenly Father, we thank you for each and every one that is here this evening. Help us, dear Lord, in our deliberation of our duties, that we do it in a fashion that is pleasing in your sight, good Lord. We ask for special comfort to the families and the loved ones, those who've lost loved ones. And Lord, we just ask your hands to be on those whose hearts are in the wrong place, and help us to steer away from hate and violence and harm toward one another, and to remember that we are one with you. We're brothers and sisters in Christ. Lord, bless this meeting and help us to do that which is pleasing in your sight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
And to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first thing we'll do is the public comments. I have 3 cards up here. The first one is Mr. Paul Still.
All still 14167 Southwest 101st Avenue, Stark. We're in hurricane season, so I wanted to suggest that you encourage emergency management to take a look at primarily Alligator Creek and the Sampson River for blockages. I believe they have a drone that they may be able to easily fly that and look at places where we have trees across the canals. There was a major blockage just downstream from the 3 pipes. I've taken my chainsaw to it and got most of it out. There's still a little bit to be done. But the other blockages, when they're discovered, if the county can send in a crew and particularly remove the trees that are falling across, because what happens, those trees then accumulate debris. And our last high water was particularly bad because the debris that came out of the area where they did the vegetation control on Lake Sampson just came down and matted all of those areas and really made a great beaver dam. So surveying the areas to see which of these are the worst and how, and getting them cleaned out, I think is going to be really good insurance in terms of going forward and protecting people along Alligator Creek and around Lake Sampson and Lake Crosby. We're lucky in that we've gone through a very dry spell. So it's going to take a 5 to 6 inch rain to sort of saturate the wetlands again, so we can handle 5 or 6 inches of rain. But once we get that 5 or 6 inches of rain and we start getting runoff from everything, then we can very quickly have some high water. Once you start having high water, then it's too late to do these cleanouts. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Steele. Yes, Mr. Steele.
Oh, I mean, I'm honored to those lakes out there because I fish them. You know, Crosby's down about, what, 4.5 foot?
It's down, yes. All the lakes are really down.
I mean, very bad.
That's why.
According to my little old meter I got, it's down about 4.5 foot.
Yeah.
So, have you checked Sampson or any of those?
Sampson's down too.
Yeah.
It's not as much as Crosby.
Crosby.
So that's why we have this window of opportunity here.
Yeah.
That fills up very fast once the water starts running off. So.
Yeah, according to my little old meter, Crosby's down 4.38
Yeah.
foot as of Sunday.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Steele. Next one I have is Richard Diggs.
Good evening, Richard Diggs with Corcon Solutions LLC, out of Glen St. Mary, Florida. Here to address the board regarding the project that bid back on June the 5th, County Road 325, the Hampton Trailhead Park. There were 3 bidders on the project, and according to the bid opening, we were low bid on it. After reviewing your agenda for tonight, it looks like you are going to award the second place bidder. There was an explanation on the agenda saying that our company was not DOT qualified. And I wanted to address those concerns that we do have a DOT qualification and see if there was anything the board would do to review that process to make sure that there was no documentation missed in our submittal prior to awarding that project.
I know I heard a little bit about this, but
Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
what DOT, sure, what else?
Mr. Dodds, do you want to address this?
So it was my understanding in your bid packet, the FDOT submittal sheet was not included in it. And that was what was brought to our attention.
So in the agenda, it's a pre-qualification, and there's couple different qualifications for DOT. Our company is considered a small business through DOT. We bid on what they call BDI projects for DOT. It's a small business affidavit that we have to do annually. And it's to set aside projects that we are certified in the same scope of services for this job. Your roadway, bridge work, civil construction, your erosion control, and those kind of things. If it was missed in our bid package, it was an error on our part. I know in section 18 of y'all's bid proposal, it allows the board to have ultimate response or authority to review that if it's something that's incidental. It's not changing the price, the scope of services, or the timeline for the construction project. So I'm asking that the board review that prior to awarding that. We have a registration with My Florida Marketplace. We're active with that. We have our FDOT qualification for this specific scope of services. So that's why I'm here tonight.
Can I ask, you've done DOT work in the past?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we just actually finished a project for the city of Hampton, stormwater sewer project recently. So, yes, sir.
Where'd you say y'all just, I'm sorry, where'd you say y'all just,
Did a project for the city of Hampton on Hampton Village Drive. It was a stormwater project, storm sewer project. We just completed, I think, about a month and a half ago.
Yeah, I was looking to see if Mary Lou was here from the city, but I don't see her.
and I will just say, to make it clear to the board, that once we open those bid package and record them, we send them to the state for review and approval from them. And that's where it got identified that the sheet was missing. So that's what actually kicked it out, correct? Well, I think ultimately it comes back to us with the notification saying that this sheet was missing out of their bid packet. As far as anything other than that, I would kind of lean on our attorney for it, but it was recommended that since they didn't have their pre-qualification sheet included in their bid package, that it would fall back to the next lowest bidder.
Mr. Chairman, can I just say that, this qualification, the bid qualifications are generally cut and dry. And, it does, go down a checklist of items that need to be provided. I'm in the industry myself, and so I know at the end of the day, when we go to submit on a project, there's several eyes that go on it to make sure that everything's included in that bid package. And I can think of one time in 28 years where something was not included for a school board out west, and we just got eliminated because we didn't have that one form in there, because it's a checklist and it's required and everybody has to follow the same set of rules.
Understand. Appreciate y'all's consideration looking into it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Jason. Next person is Brad Thomas.
Good evening, Board. Brad Thomas, 6155 Northwest County Road 125. Most of you are aware of who I am. I'm on the most recent elected Fair Board. Just want to point out that I'm not here to represent the Fair Board. What I'm talking about this evening, I have not spoke to the Fair Board about. This is Brad Thomas and not the Fair Board. I'm not here to tell the county how to spend their money. What I'm gonna suggest, the proposal that I have, with all due respect, it's your job to come up with where the money comes from, whether that's via cuts or wherever you find the money, that's what you are here for. So I'm not here to propose extra spending. I just know that, Mr. Riddick brought up a proposal 2 weeks ago, and I just wanted to piggyback off of that a little bit. Small pass real quick. I've been in the Fair Association and involved, with our youth for the last 10 or 12 years there. As most of you know, before that, I was involved in the rec department for many, many years. Me and Commissioner Daughtry coached together. I run the rec department in Lodi. I assisted with the rec department at Stark. So I said all that to say that I'm limitedly educated in both areas, and I can't express that enough. But just for the subject of time, Commissioner Riddick brought up his proposal for the rec department 2 weeks ago, and I know that he had a meeting, not sure how it went today, with the city of Stark. So thinking on that, I know that it has been mentioned that this board has committed to a salary for, let's call it the fair manager for today, just because we don't know what it's called, don't know what that number is. With the limited education that I have in both departments, I believe that we can combine those two efforts. And I believe that somebody can run the rec department, facilitate the Charlie Johns and the fair. I don't need somebody, and I'm talking for Brad personally, I don't need somebody who knows how to throw a fastball, spiral, or kick a soccer ball. I don't need somebody who knows how to walk a cow or a pig. I don't need somebody who knows the difference between a 78 Chevy and an 81 Ford. I need somebody that can go to somebody who knows the differences. I need a facilitator. I need somebody who can raise money at the fairgrounds, who can raise money at the rec department, who can organize these things that we need for them to generate their own funds. The only way you're going to do that is by properly paying somebody to come in here that's qualified to do that. I think that the combined effort is really the smart thing to do, in my opinion. Again, I'm not here to represent the Fair Board. I haven't approached the Fair Board about this. They may turn it down just as well as you will, or the city of Stark may. But I just felt like it was a proposal. I think it's coming up this evening, and I wanted to make sure it's considered through that process. And I can't say enough that I don't know that the funds are there to cover any of it. That's not what I'm here for today. I'm just saying, as it comes up and as we discuss it, keep in mind, we've already committed to, y'all have already committed, the county has already committed to a salary with the fair manager. And I think that we can combine the two and help our process. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas.
All right, that's all the comment cards I have. So I'll move on to item 3, approval of the consent agenda. Do I have a-
I'll make a motion, we approve this consent agenda.
You have a motion?
Okay, a motion from Commissioner Thompson on approval. You got the second?
Sure.
Okay, second from Commissioner Daughtry. Any questions? All of them?
The question,
Sure.
just, for point of clarification, does, would the items here include, the bid, for the project?
The previously discussed road project, no ma'am, that's a standalone item number 7 on your agenda.
All right. All in favor by sign of aye? Aye. Aye, motion carries 5-0. Next item is the recreation funding request. I don't have a real long PowerPoint presentation for y'all. It's kind of short and sweet. But if you don't mind, I'll run this and do this now for you. I'm sorry, I apologize. I didn't get the clicker from you.
Shame on me.
That's my fault, Amanda. What was that? Thanks. Okay, first item, I just wanted to bring a couple things to y'all's attention. This is money that we currently have invested in the bank right now. I apologize, let me find my, all right, this is the money we have currently invested. Some people were talking about the money that we draw an interest on. So there's one on this, there's 3 of them there. There's 3 more here. You'll see almost all of them are for 6 months. You can see the dates, the interest. And then I'll follow it up. Right now, there's $11,249,582 invested in CDs, short term. One of those is for a year. The total interest we're going to earn on those in 6 months is $165,425. Now, I do know that last year we brought in, I believe it was right around $880,000 in interest. So this will be closer to about half of what we were bringing in before. And that's because of the funds, as we talked about, that are being transferred out. All right, this is what I wanted to talk to you about. As far as revenue, we need to pass the 50% fire assessment. That's going to bring in approximately 1.6 million. Realistically, it's probably going to bring in a little bit more than that. If you look at the houses that's been built and different things in the past 2 years since this was done. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention is we have, even if we pass the assessment, we have to keep the millage rate at 10 mills for 1 more year to make it work. Because again, we don't know exactly how much we're going to be bringing in. The second thing is the property taxes for this year have an increase of 6.55% increase on the total taxable value. That's going to bring in approximately $1.2 to $1.3 million increase from last year. The other thing I wanted to mention to you is the solid waste. If you remember, in around 2023, we increased it from $75 to $125. That has brought in an increase of $454,772. How do I make it go up, Amanda, or where they can see the rest of that slide? Or, whoops. Well, now I did do it. Thanks. Okay. So the solid waste for this year, 2025, we've already had an increase of $16,786. So combined with the increase from last year, we're doing very well in solid waste. Here's the other thing I wanted to run by y'all. The little green stickers, by us making everybody put the little green stickers on their vehicles so that out of town people could not dump. Believe it or not, that is saving $10,000 a month, $120,000 a year just by having that green sticker on everybody's vehicle. The other thing is, I wanted to, for the first time in many, many years, solid waste is almost totally self-sufficient. That's equivalent to what I believe over $500,000. So it's doing very good, almost self-sufficient. So I'm showing you these things because this is where you want to know about revenue. This is where we're at. The other thing is, I'll just be honest with you, board. I searched and searched and searched. I could not find an extra $150,000. I mean, I met with Rachel and Dana, just could not find it. Y'all know our departments. You know how tight our budgets are. I could not find it. But the one thing I will say, if you add up these numbers for next year, we're going to have at least a $3.2 million increase in funding coming in. So if we are going to fund the recreation, we need to add to the recreation budget. Just like we've added to the fire department budget, we added to the road department budget. We added, I believe, $170,000 to the supervisor of elections budget for tabulators. We've added an extra $20,000 for the state attorney's office. And I was going to have all this up on the board, but it isn't official yet, and it hasn't all the requests haven't been sent in. So, but these are some of the ones I know about. But the bottom line is, we increase other people's budgets and revenues. We already have a line item for rec. It's at $15,000. We need to increase it to $150,000. and make this thing work. The last thing is, as you can see, from the money we've got invested, the money we got coming in next year, the county is not broke. We're not broke. I mean, we're in the black this year. We're gonna be in the black next year. The county is definitely not broke. Here's the same slide I put up last time. Now what? I will tell you, I just came from the City of Stark meeting, and I'm very happy to tell y'all, it was a 5-0 vote for the city to join forces with the counties. So I got one part of the handshake. I need the other part to come together tonight and make this thing work. Like I said, the city was very, very excited. I was very, very happy to get a 5-0 vote in full support of combining with the county to make this go forward and work. Again, we'll have to, get our attorneys to get together and send out agreement of understanding and, to put this thing together as to how it's exactly going to work. But the bottom line, this is my favorite side. This is for the kids. It's all about the kids. And I will tell you this, the City of Stark commissioners got it. They were all in. And I just, and I will tell you this, I did mention it because I thought it might come up tonight. I did mention about, maybe combining full-time rec department director and / fairgrounds. I will tell you from the discussion I had with them, I don't believe they're on board with that at all from what I took out of there. They would prefer to have a full-time rec department director and let them totally concentrate on rec, bringing in tournaments and this and that, and run properly. It, again, from everybody I've talked to, it's gonna be self-sustaining in a couple of years. Yes.
Sheriff, can you help us? Come on up here.
It's,
We need some
glad
help. Huh?
today was a good day for us.
Good. And we need some help.
Well, the governor finally signed last night, late in the night, some money that we didn't contend on, with that, and then the projected millage from the city for doing this policing in the city is gonna be a little more. So our projected budget this year with the increase in the retirement rates and those type things, and $3 million y'all wanna give across, I think there were like $270,000 increase for the 3%, and then like I say, never know what pension rates are gonna do, those type things. But with the projected millage increase from the city, and then the governor just stepped up and increased our funding, for physically constrained counties for law enforcement, we're gonna be able to reduce ours somewhere in the neighborhood, probably about $75,000. So I know it may be more than that when Colonel Smith gets back and look at the math and the numbers, what we're going to submit. But as you know, as we submit usually, this year the legislative session went on a lot longer. Not sure what was, can't blame the Democrats, but it went on a lot longer than projected. So we were holding tight to the vest of some things we were projecting. So I think when you see our submittal, it's going to be much less, which will give some more room there. And then when the city's numbers came in with the projected millage that they're going to be getting, the 2.5 mills that we do the policing with is going to come in better. It'll offset what we have, and I think ours won't be as big an increase, so that'll give us some room there. Like I said, I'm committed. The youth, I can't say enough, because it's not just the youth, it's the economic impact to our community. I think about every time I drive to Lake Asbury, I eat over there, I buy gas over there. The kids got to have ices after the ball game at Russell Baptist Church. Go to Keystone, we got to stop and eat. We're spending all the money in Clay County. The economic impact when you have all your parents, people that are able to go with their kids, all of us grandparents, you get stuck buying, it makes a very big impact. But the biggest impact is our kids and making a difference, and it helps all of our schools, our middle school, our high school, athletics, getting our kids involved, and that's the best crime prevention we have. Even with the parents, we keep them involved with the kids, they're not getting into trouble. So we're going to do our part on our end. I think if everybody, the other departments can find just a little bit and adjust in this, because the rates didn't come in as high as we projected. They leveled off. The governor did us really well in retrospect to that, and it's helped us out. So we're going to be resubmitting a much reduced increase in ours.
Maybe 2%.
At least.
All right.
not more. I'm hoping to get more. I'm gonna get Colonel Smith and Lisa, they can follow them, and they're doing it now, because what we had is gonna be much less than that.
Well, and we know how your budget is, and we hope that everybody else will take a look at theirs
Just a little
and
bit.
follow suit, just a little
It
bit.
doesn't take much, y'all, just a little bit. We can all pitch it, doesn't matter if you're a little department or a bigger department, but even us, as you know, we're a big chunk of it, so we have to look at us. And when that came in last night, I knew that it was getting signed. I was teasing Attorney Bradley over there. Bites the balls now. But when I seen that done, it did this morning, get to read some of the emails and stuff that was coming in and getting to read, and projecting what the city was gonna do. I said, ours will be a little better projected, so won't be near the increase. And it may, you've already got on your tighten me up, so I've been looking, you were the first one, Sheriff guy. I said, absolutely. And we've been working on it, so she's been tough on it, because it's important to you, and I think it's every commissioner up here. I've spent a lot of time with Commissioner Dahl already. Ms. Spooner's called, Mr. Thompson's I think he bit my ear one time, but, everybody's been there, and we're all working with the county manager, we're all gonna get it done. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Every little bit helps.
It does, absolutely.
Well, Mr. Chair, Mr. Carnegie, what is our budget for maintenance off the top, for the 3 parks that we maintain, Speedville, Pleasant Grove, Lincoln City, which is a part of our recreation budget? I know that we have the 15,000 allocated for sports, but do you know roughly approximately what that is?
50 to 60,000.
50 to 60,000 maybe.
Okay.
It's close to that.
Okay. So if you added that, so we have about 75 roughly that covers recreational type things. I guess I need a little clarification too. What would the 150, what would that cover?
Okay, I'll just go off memory. Basically, the 150 from the city, the 150 from the county will go towards field maintenance and the recreation director's salary and the assistant. And then whatever funding we get from the TDC board will go strictly for improvements to the Edwards Road field for right now. So that's why I'm asking for the 150, because I know with that budget from the people that I've asked a lot of questions to and had meetings with, we feel for sure the 150 from both boards would definitely cover the cost for 2 years for those positions that we talked about. I mean, I can break it down as far as, the fees coming in from the rate, and it will cover itself for 2 years. And if it don't, I won't ask for anything else for 2 years. I just need a 150 commitment from the city and from the county. And again, right now, I got the 150 commitment from the city for 2 years for sure.
The reason I asked if we're investing right now around 75,000 in the recreational area, that includes the maintenance and what you provide for the sports, then you're just looking at, not 100,000.
Right.
So,
Looking at 75 more. And and board, that's the only reason that I even brought up this revenue, just to give y'all an idea of what's coming in, where we're at, what's actually in the bank, drawing interest, and I can back it up with a book here. But that's what, and even like I said, the solid waste. We've never been close to breaking even on solid waste. So that's a very good savings.
If I could just say, we're not breaking even on solid waste right now.
I need to clarify just some things
Sure.
with regards to just speaking on the budget and the revenue
Okay.
component of my hands. So to solid waste, right now, yes, we're doing good. That's largely because we have a reserve fund balance that's going to last us maybe a year or two. After that year or two, we're going to be back at where we're going to be about $500,000 in the hole on solid waste. And that's something that we had communicated early on when we had increased it to $125. That at some point that's better than nothing and it's getting us further, but we're still going to have to supplement solid waste out of the general fund by about $500,000. So I want to make that point here, just so we haven't gotten a check yet from the city yet on the decals, so that will be some revenue coming in, but we are looking at about approximately $500,000 in about a year or two that we're going to need to fund solid waste from the general fund.
But even though, like, as solid waste, we're picking up an extra 120,000 because we're not picking up as many dumpsters. So the expenses aren't as much.
We have a pretty significant fund balance right now that's helping to sustain us. That's gonna go away.
So,
If I wanted, the interest that you spoke about, this board needs to keep in mind, interest, fund balance, the things that we have, it's what helps balance our budget in the next year. So also interest rates are going down, so that'll just be more, or less that we're gonna have to help balance our budget when those interest rates go down. I do just wanna point that out. And I think it's also important to acknowledge as far as actions that we've taken as far as new expenses, we're already about at $3.4 million new expenses for 25-26. Our new hires in the road department, which we need. Our COLA, which was a good thing to do. Health insurance costs. I'm not even talking about FRS at this point. Health insurance increases. That's about 1.5 million right now that we're going to have to add to the budget. The Broker Fire Station, good thing, great. That's a new expense of about $627,000 operating. These are recurring expenses. That's about $2.1 million. And I'm not even considering our CIP yet. You have CIP, capital improvement projects planned for next fiscal year of about 1.3 million. If you load that up, that's 3.4. I think what you're proposing, Mr. Riddick, nobody in here is saying we don't need recreation for our youth and we need to invest. And maybe what we need to do is look at ways that we can tighten the belt or cut in other areas. But I would just caution this board as far as the revenue. We've already spent it. The revenue that we're going to create with the millage rate, we just spent it in our new recurring costs. So that's what I just want there to be that balance to consider. And also be aware about what's going to take down, what's coming down the pipe with solid waste. And fire rescue, I know we already had a consensus from this board to go at 50%, and that's what we're going to be shooting for at that August 21st meeting, and hopefully that'll get passed. But in about 2 years, we're going to be back to square one.
Where one?
Where we're going to be at a wash, and we're going to need to look, because that's just the nature of that operation. That's not critical. That's just the nature of all operations. And that we're going to need to look at increasing at some point, or we're going to be back to square one. So I just want to throw that out there.
Mr. Chair, I wasn't finished. If you're looking at the approximately 75,000 that we have invested with maintenance, that cost, and including the other recreation, and if the sheriff would just say that they have 75 that they can put in, that would be your 150. But it would not take away from your contingency funds that we need to be able to maintain, our cost and for our future things, because we do have the capital improvement plan that we need to implement in getting our buildings repaired. And those costs that are associated with all of the departments that have to maintain a contingency fund so that we'll have something in case we have an emergency, we have to be able to maintain. But if we can do it within our existing funds, such as that, and combining that with our current existing fund of 75, that would be the 150, and not take away from the contingency.
I'm all in. Good.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
so something to consider also with solid waste. I am the chairman of the New River Solid Waste. And right now, we're sneaking up on negotiations with some of the other counties that currently come to New River Solid Waste. And in those negotiations, if things don't work out, we could be faced with having to charge even more for solid waste.
Yeah.
So again, that's something I wouldn't rely on, and it certainly is far from being fully funded. When we bumped it up to the 125 amount, I think, Mr. Cornegay, that got us about halfway funded.
It brought us up to about 1.2 million. We're still a little over $500,000 short.
$500,000, yeah. So anyway, something to consider. Also, when we talked about 2 weeks ago, we talked about looking at making cuts to come up with this money. And so, that's where we need to talk to our departments and say, and it's not just the departments, it's the phone calls you get as far as the services, because you're gonna be cutting back on the services to be able to generate that money. And that's where, when we talk, it was my understanding that we were gonna try to find it, within the budget and not necessarily going and looking at, different fund balances and things like that, we were trying to pull the money from. If the sheriff, is able to come up with 70 or 75,000, then I start looking at our millage rate again. We always talk about rolling the millage rate back. We get to a point to where, I saw up there where you had maybe next year. I think we've been saying maybe next year for quite a few years. So again, it's something that needs to be examined. Is it, other departments? Is it, again, is it employees? There was the COLA raise there. I think that amounted to quite a bit of money. Our employees don't pay anything for insurance if they're on there by themselves. And, that's something that some counties actually have the employees where the employees pay in a certain amount. If that's something that we looked at, then maybe that generates enough money to be able to do it. So again, I think there's a lot of different ways out there. I'm probably the most hated guy in the room right now for saying that, but at the same time, we pay about $12,000 a year for employee for insurance, and that could be going up 10 to 12%, maybe.
12%.
So again, I always feel like I'm the guy raining on the parade, but there are things that we need to look at. And again, if it's the services, then, we have to be able to answer to people, why the ditches aren't getting mowed, why the roads aren't getting graded, why it's taking longer to get somebody transported over to, North Florida or, wherever else they go, UF Health. But, anyway, I don't think I can say that enough. We have a list of organizations here that are going to be asking for money tonight, and we've been funding them for forever. We've even cut back on their funding. I think we cut it back 25%. And so, again, we just, I don't know, I'm trying to wrap my head around it. I certainly, thought a lot about what you said a couple weeks ago, and thought about, recreation, and certainly, as the sheriff says, it's not just important for the kids, it's important for the community, and I totally understand that. But, to be able to do that, I think we have to figure out, are we doing more for our employees than we are for the people that put us right here? And like I said, I'll wear a bulletproof vest from now on, but, it's a fact. Keep going up and up and up, and there's just not much of an attempt to make a lot of cuts.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to
Sure.
confirm, the recreation budget, I was way off. It's actually 16,800 is what is budgeted in there. So and that primarily is for utilities and repair and maintenance for parks.
All right.
Well, I think that, I kind of disagree and a little bit is, and I think that the other departments, like, I threw out contingency funds the other day. I'm not talking about wiping out contingency funds because, of course, there may be an emergency. But then there may be, a cause just to spend it because it's there. We have large contingency funds and we have small contingency funds. And I think that, if given them the opportunity to take a look at what they had, what they spent last year, that was a true emergency and not just, I need this and we're gonna buy it from that.
you know, I think that, and with the sheriff kind of taking the lead for that. I understand that he's receiving money, but, I would have liked to give them the opportunity to take a look at their budget again and see if there isn't something that they can either take their, feel like they could take their contingency down some, or, something they could cut. That's just my thought.
All right. Well, I'm not gonna beat it to death. I will say I'm very disappointed that the city's in the same financial state that we are, but yet they can find it, we can't find 150,000. I'll just be straight up and tell everybody. I mean, we can't find 150,000 for rec. But anyway, y'all can bring it back up again if you want. I won't bring it back up again. That's it. I'll let it go.
Mr. Mayor,
I hate it.
But I wouldn't be so quick to dismiss it. Again, like I said, there's work to be done. We just have to do that work. That's all. It's not.
Well, I guess if it doesn't get approved in this budget year, it's gonna be 4 or 5 years before it comes back up again. I just know that's the trend, how we do things. If we don't vote for a big item, usually it's years before it comes back up. Now, that's my concern. Now, if you wanna discuss it again, once we get the actual budgets in, I'm all in. But
I think that is something that we should do. I'm
Okay.
not Mr. Daughtry. I definitely don't want to take this off the agenda and never talk about it again, because I feel strongly about us being a part of this and doing this. But I think that we need to give people an opportunity to look and see where they can cut, see what we can come up with that won't cost us anymore, but yet it will be funding for that. And I think that our people have heard enough about it to understand that they probably can give up a little bit. So I'd like to see us give them the opportunity to try to do that, Mr. Riddick.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yes.
we have a budget workshop scheduled for July 1st.
Okay.
We could take the time between now and then for our department heads to look and see if there is anything, and then we can discuss it at the budget workshop, if you'd like to do that.
Yes,
I would if that's okay with the board. Yeah.
I think so.
and we have to change our culture and how we think. We have to think outside of the box, and recreation is important. But we have to figure out a way to do it within our existing budget without depleting our contingency funds. And I think, something can be worked on, but it's not done.
Okay.
Well, one thing that comes to mind, I don't know if you guys did in the ACC or the CCC sessions, but, there was the particular board game that they put out and played,
Mm-hmm.
So are you gonna cut the library? Are you gonna cut the road department? Are you gonna cut, where are you gonna go with it? And you have a limited amount of time to think about that. And right when you think you're right where you need to be, just like what we're working on right now, and then boom, we get hit with a hurricane or something, so that's where the contingency funds need to be, we need to be real careful about that. So, again, I think it's looking at the current budget, how we can cut there to make this work is, I think, it's a better mathematical problem.
Sounds good. I appreciate it.
Here's the problem. I mean, we don't need to write a check. We can't cash. Things are tight. So, and hey, believe me, everybody in this room knows me. I support the union 150% at the fair or wherever. But we just need to do our homework.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, Mr. Cornegay, as far as, let's move on and just do that at the July 1st workshop, and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, don't drop it.
No,
Don't drop it. I mean,
just gotta make it work.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next item, the community organization. Did you want to? The first one I got on the list is the North Florida Regional Chamber of Commerce. Pam Little.
I did this old school, so you have a thing with our big agenda on the front, our logo on the front. Again, I'm Pam at North Florida Regional Chamber of Commerce. And, as Commissioner Daughtry just pointed out, for many years, as far back as I could tell, in 1996, the Chamber was a partner with the county, and we received $12,500. At the request of the county in 2020, we were asked to cut that by 25%. And we felt like that was our part we needed to do for you guys, because we are your partner. I mean, we're called on at least once a week by somebody around here wanting us, do you have this? Can you help this? Can you answer that? Can you be on this? Whatever. And we went to $9,375. That was in 2020. Our ask today is still $9,375. I don't know if you have anybody else that's still at their 2020 budget, but we can make it work. So that's what we're doing. Yes, we want to see recreation. I'm also, as you know, part of TDC and that board, and we're working on this. So I just want to say that is part of my request. I have some things in here for you in case you're interested. You know, we have 2 full-time staff. Most of you know there's just me and Susan there. We make it work. There used to be 5 of us. Now there's 2. We are a 501c6, which is a not-for-profit, and most communities value a chamber in their community. We basically live off of membership dues, workforce board, and a little bit that we do for TDC that they pay us for, and the money we get from you guys. That's it, and we make it work. I put you a picture of the Strawberry Festival in here and some of the things, people we bring to this community. And as I was looking at it, I was thinking about if every one of those cars on this picture had 2 or 3 people in it, and remember we turned the parking lot about every 3 hours. That's how many people we bring to this county in a weekend. That's a lot of folks buying gas, eating out, staying in the motel, shopping. Because they never remember to bring everything. They have to go to Walmart or Winn-Dixie or something. And we do advertise. We advertise on Jacksonville and Gainesville channels and radio stations. We have people that come as far up as Tifton, Georgia, and way past Daytona and coast to coast. It amazes me. They'll come over from Clark City and everywhere else. They come to Bradford County. It's good publicity for our county. One of the best publicity that we get for our county, as you all know, is Rural County Days. Because people now know who Bradford County, not Broward or Brevard. And we have worked long and hard on that. I've dished out many strawberry shortcake. Let people know that you are Bradford County. And I have a picture here of Chris. This is one you actually were in, I think. So, because he got up early that morning to help us set up. But we have spent the money buying tents and tablecloths and everything else. We were actually called prom queen this year, and Bradford does not want to be by us anymore because they did not like being the freshman sitting by prom queen. So, I took that as a compliment, especially from the ladies who dished it out, because they were formerly from Clay County, so I was like, some of the other things, like I said, the committees, different things that we get asked, hey ma'am, can you sit on this? Can you do that? Can you do the other? I remember a few years ago, we hired somebody to come up with a logo for the county. Didn't like any of it. And it wasn't cheap. And where's Gordon? Me, Gordon, and the superintendent somehow got voluntold to come up with something. And we did. And you're still using it. So, yes, I would consider us partners. When we need something, we come to you guys. Even with the TDC, the conference center, the things that are done there, the trainings that are done there, and we coordinate with Ben and Dylan and Cody and all the sheriff's office, whatever. We have all these trainings that go on and take place there. You don't have anywhere to do that, so it happens there. We don't charge you for the light bill. We don't charge you for rent. You're just there, but we manipulate it around. Sometimes like, okay, y'all gotta leave 3 o'clock because I gotta pay a customer coming in at 5 now. But we work it out. We're partners. Do I have a specific line item we spend this money on? No, not really. We just work all year long. It actually comes out to about $25. I didn't put it on here, about $26 a day. I think we're a pretty good deal. So, that's it. Thank you, appreciate it.
Next one is the ARC of Bradford County, John Williams. What you want, John? Oh. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you for the invitation. My name is John Williams. I'm with the ARC of Bradford County, and got a PowerPoint presentation. I'll try to just go through it pretty fast, but if you have any questions at the end, feel free to ask. So at the ARC of Bradford County, we support individuals who have intellectual and developmental disabilities. We have been supporting individuals in this community as well as several other communities for the last 50 years. We are actually celebrating our 50th anniversary. While we are the ARC of Bradford County, we do serve and have served in the past Baker, Union, Alachua, Clay, and Putnam County as well. So we, because of where we sit, we are the closest provider to a lot of individuals who live in areas like Lake Butler, or Keystone Heights, Melrose, Waldo, areas like that. So we do bring individuals from outside the county into the county, and it does bring additional revenue to the county. These are some of the services that we provide. We provide residential services. We operate 3 group homes. We have 2-day programs that we operate. We provide transportation services, mental health services, personal supports, companion services, really any kind of support that an individual might need to live in the community, to continue to be a functioning member of society. We provide that level of support based on their individual need. So there's some individuals who live in their own homes, they live in apartments, and they just need someone to come in and help with things like paying bills, maybe going to doctor's appointments. And then there's other individuals that we support who require total care. And so we support those individuals basically on their level of need. So this just kind of breaks down our agency funding. We have a budget of about $3 million a year. 70% of that comes from program services that we provide. We bill Medicaid or med waiver services through the state, but it only pays about 70 cents on the dollar. And so we have to come up with other revenue sources. So one of the revenue sources that we have is our business operations. So we operate a wood shop, Sunshine Industries, many of you know that organization. And so that comes up with about 28% of our budget. And then about 5% of our budget comes from whether it's grants or contributions that we receive from the community. This just kind of outlines where the money that we've received from the Board of County Commissions in the past. Your contribution accounts for a match that we're required by state law to get from local sources. So when we operate a day program, the General Appropriations Act requires us to have a 12.5% match. So you'll see figures from, this is the 23-24 fiscal year. We don't have numbers for 24-25 yet, but this just kind of gives you an idea of where those matching dollars go. And again, the match that we are required to have, the Board of County Commissioners, their contribution has accounted for 40% of that match in previous years. So we're very appreciative of your support, and we request that you continue that. These are a couple of things. One of the things that, as we're celebrating our 50th anniversary, we are attempting to change the narrative about the ARC. We feel like a lot of people view the ARC as a charity that only receives, and we want the community to understand that it's not just about what we get, it's about what the individuals we serve and support can give back to the community. So we have started food distributions. We do those in partnership with our Community Resource Hub and Feeding Northeast Florida in the Hampton community. We do that every other first Saturday. This past food distribution at the beginning of June, we served 151 families, provided food support to through those families 424 individuals. in the county. So we do that again every other first Saturday. Also, we've started hosting one of the community resource hubs that we operate out of the Old Hampton Elementary School in partnership with the community resource hubs and other providers in the county so that individuals can come in and receive those services. We offer that twice a month on the second and fourth Tuesday. And then these are just some of our initiatives. Again, I mentioned our 50th anniversary we're celebrating. I know it's a county commission night, but it's going to be on July 17th. So if you get out a little early, you can come have dinner and celebrate with us on our 50th anniversary. But we again appreciate your support. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to.
Any questions? I don't have any questions, just a comment. John, you have an angel's heart. I'm just telling you, I see you around a lot. I know that you do this because of your heart. And appreciate everything you do. And certainly a great organization, very well run. And, thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next I have the University of Florida 4-H program, Lizzie Whitehead.
Quick presentation, so. All right, good evening, board. I'm Lizzie Whitehead. I am the UFIF's Bradford County Livestock Agent and Event Coordinator for Beef Bash. This is going to be my 5th year putting Beef Bash on, and it is a youth agricultural event for our beef exhibitors. And this year, let me see if I can work this thing. This year, I'm requesting again $2,500 in support of this event. It is open to all 4-H and FFA members who have beef projects locally and in the North Florida area, as well as we had some visitors from Georgia attend this event in the past. It brings revenue to local businesses. We had about 550 people attend last year in Bradford County. We have local vendors, and then we also have people staying in the hotels nearby and also going to the restaurants. And all the proceeds, if we make a profit from this event, will go to the 4-H programs, summer camps, livestock judging teams, all of that good stuff. And then in this event provides an excellent opportunity for local youth to showcase their beef projects before the fair. So the next show that's the closest for us is Marion County, and then just the next option would be Gethsemane or Okeechobee, Tampa. So we are one of the only North Florida area north of Marion County that provides it throughout the year. And it is a lot of work, I do have to tell you. This past year in 2025, we had about a little over 100 exhibitors and about 150 head of cattle. If you came by or drove by the fairgrounds at that time, you saw lots of trailers out there. It was a really good event. Plenty of space at our fairgrounds. And again, it brought in about 550 people, families, people locally, people from all over the place. And about 24 businesses support this event, whether it's a small donation or large. We have a lot of local support, and I try to give out the best prizes possible for these youth, whether it's a belt buckle, a leather patch that goes on to a speaker, money, whatever I can do whenever I get those donations come in. We also have a huge attendance from the local kids from Bradford and Union County. So when I was looking at my expenses, I spent about $11,500 this past year on all of the costs that go into having a show. Without the support, I cannot do this show because we'll be in the hole, and it's a lot of work to have to go in the red for an event. So you can see there in the breakdown of trophies, cash, buckles, banners, insurance, just paying the judge to come is about $1,500 to $2,000 because I'm paying for their expertise, and I also try to get somebody that's not local so they don't know the kids. And I have to pay for a service to pay for the registrations that come in, and it collects the money over the internet. And you can see there my facility costs last year as well. So this year I anticipate about $12,500 for this year's event in 2026. And You just go to the next slide if it's there. Anyway, the next slide was just thank you for your support last year. I really appreciate it. The supporting the agriculture community and the beef kids. Those beef projects are really expensive. A steer nowadays costs about $2,000 to be able to just get in the beginning. They have to feed it. So having an event like this where they get some money back into their pockets and give them some hardware to wear is really useful for these kids. Any questions?
Just a comment, excuse me. Just want to thank you, Lizzie, and all of your group for everything that you do. And it would be wonderful, especially now that we have the fairgrounds, that we could put on more of these events just like this, because we've all been to these, and families stay where they're at, and they do buy food and buy gas, and so it is a great a fundraiser for us to have these events. But thank you for all the hard work that you put in, and it doesn't go without notice. Everybody really appreciates what y'all do. Thank you.
You do a super job.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I hope to add more species in the future, but right now I'm sticking to cattle, and we'll branch out to some others too. So.
Thank
A
you.
lot of work into that. Y'all do a super job too.
Okay, Bradford Soil and Water, Amy, is that Maury?
Lori like the eel, yes. You know, it's one that's often gotten wrong. All right, so I put some information up just because we don't come before you guys very often. So just a little update on what we've done and what we do. We are elected. We are not paid, not partisan. We're not allowed to tattoo. We're not allowed to impose rules on you. But where we can help is facilitating things between agencies and between some of our landowners and public places that can really use that help. Right now, we have 3 supervisors in office. We're looking for more. So if you know somebody in one of these districts, we'll put you to work. We are basically folks that are in agriculture. Our statute doesn't require us to be, doesn't require our assistants in the community to be agriculturally based. But to run for this office, you have to be based in agriculture. So I'm a little bit more used to having dirt under my nails from the nursery than getting up and speaking like this. But what we do, I think, is pretty important. So got the little blurb up there. That is from our actual Florida statutes about what our soil and water boards do. And the people of Bradford County voted ours in 1950. Okay, we have been working on more volunteers. We have many thanks to Mr. Still, who served on these boards and mentored some of our members. He stepped off of our board in February, and he is now serving as a volunteer for our board. So that's the kind of thing we really want to encourage our reach and what we can do in the community. We also have a new volunteer, Frances Bradley, who's in District 1, I believe. I'm sorry, I'd have to double check that, but she's been a really good asset as well. And we're really looking, as you'll see when we get into our projects, that to kind of expand that and have more reach through folks in the community who are willing to help out with these things. Looking ahead, so we've had project redevelopment. Last year, there was a Florida statute that went up saying our special districts had to have annual plans, goals, objectives, performance measures. So we've been working on all of that. And for this year, our goals and objectives have been to kind of really re-examine all the projects we were working on, see how we can make them stronger, see how we can expand some of them, make sure we're doing the right things, talking to the right people, that kind of thing. Some of the impacts we've had, just the time that the board gets alone, if you put that value of volunteer time on it. For the last couple of years, it's come out to about $75,000 a year in volunteer time from the board members donating their time to the community. So with additional volunteers, we can really expand that reach. And that's just from our less board members as we've had during the year. I think this year, we're actually looking more like about 85,000 in that in-kind contribution. We saved the county, the Sampson Canal project. Mr. Still was able to find a new method that really gave a good alternative, low cost. And that's what I'm all about. You know, we're spending the people's money here. So let's find ways to do this that are, you know, maybe new and innovative, but that are not going to be shooting our budgets in the foot here. We increased mileage for landowners. Last year, we kicked off a great annual dinner event where we had USDA, NRCS, we had Fish and Wildlife, we had the Forest Service, we had extension agents like Lizzie from 4 different counties here. We had folks from FDACS and the water quality management programs. And these folks all came together in the room and gave our landowners information on all of the cost share programs that they have, all of the technical help that's available. And we actually found a sponsor for that. So we were able to give everybody dinner, have a nice sit down and some presentations, and not a dime spent from the taxpayers' money. So we're trying to put on more of those kind of things. Oh, I'm not sure what I hit. Thank you. All right, keep my fingers off the button. And then we've really just been trying to increase our outreach and awareness of these concerns. This year we had a workshop for folks who live on Lake Sampson and have special concerns in that area. And we've kept up a little mailing list going so that folks can continue to share the concerns. And as we find possible solutions, we can share those with people. Okay, so yeah, this is just our closer look. In this last year, 87,000 actually. And then our mission statement. We really want folks to be using appropriate soil and water conservation methods. This is our farmers, but also anybody who's out there kind of interfacing with those. Preserve wildlife, protect public lands and our private lands here. And general health, safety, and welfare issues. I'm a landscape architect by trade. That's kind of one of our mantras is we have to protect health, safety, and welfare, whether we're doing stormwater calculations or installing playground equipment. There's always that concern. So basically, you know, what your funding allows us to do is to bridge all of those service gaps that we find. We can keep an eye on what the water management district is doing and let people who are impacted in certain areas know. We can go to the local mitigation strategy groups and contribute there. And we're hoping one of our projects to contribute even more this year. Doing agricultural best management practices. So we've been doing landowner tours where we take folks out to a working operation. They get to see it, they get to ask questions of people. We had a really successful kickoff with this with a timber operation last year. So we're going to be planning more of those. The volunteers, I know Lizzie knows about this. It's not just getting volunteers. You have to recruit them, you have to train them, and then you have to keep them around. And this is, I'm actually a former IFAS agent, so I know a little bit about that with Master Gardener program. So that's something that's really on our radar to help with invasive species cleanup days in our parks, to help with water sampling so we can check on our water quality more thoroughly. Those are the ideas that we're going with. And then putting that information out there. Dr. Still has done a lot of great water quality sampling. We put that together in Excel spreadsheets. I think in some cases we've done little graphs so you can see a little bit more detail about what's going on in some of those areas. We want to increase that kind of information that's available to the public. Oh, okay. All right, so this was a breakdown of our budget. We did submit a budget letter as well, so there's a little bit more breakdown in there if you'd like more detail, or I welcome any questions. This year for our water programs, we're putting a little bit more into that. Flood protection, we're actually going to be putting out a call if we are successful with getting this funding for a research study or a stipend to try to help get a little bit more of our missing gap information about our waterways and where water's flowing in the county. Surface water quality, we'd like to arrange to do more testing sites and test for more things, especially things that impact health, safety, and welfare. If you look at the great outline of our county here, we've got the Trail Ridge, very high elevation, all the way down to those lowlands of the New River and the Santa Fe River, all the swamps and great farmland and everything in between. I know every one of you have areas in your district that are subject to flooding or people have water quality concerns. And those are the things we'd really like to expand our reach on. Land management programs, invasive species I mentioned, looking at our parks and public spaces, as well as anytime a farmer or somebody managing their land calls us and says, hey, this planted, but it's getting out of hand. Can you come take a look? Recommend some ways for us to get rid of it. We can go out and do those kind of advisements, or we can work with somebody at the extension office to make sure that person's heard and their concerns are met before that problem gets even worse. Youth development, this one's a little bit of a switch, but we've had in the past a soil and water contest, and this has been supported at the state level. So we would really like to bring that back and work harder with our 4-H and FFA groups and have this speech contest especially. We've been seeing a little bit of a resurgence of this in the surrounding counties. So we would have a very small budget on that because we're going to be looking to have a sponsor to make that happen, to give out those premiums to the kids and not make it part of this budget. And youth development support, being able to go out to the clubs, the schools, have interactive exhibits and things like that. Operating expenses, I do want to talk a little bit about that. We do have a little bit of an increase here. We were being provided a website, which is, as a government agency, we are mandated to have it and publish our meeting agendas and things like that. The state has not renewed funding for that. So all of the soil and water districts are in the position now of having to do their own website. We've come up with a very, very low cost, we think, solution. And as you'll see in some of these other slides, we've reduced our board education and training down quite a bit this year. I've been working with, outside of our soil and water board, with soil and water supervisors from around the state to offer training programs. So we actually just had one on those goals and objectives and how people can write their reports. We'll be doing some on ethics and sunshine laws coming up. And so that gave us a menu to offer free training for our members. Okay, so water protection, the flood protection, we'd like to gradually increase the number of gauge stations that are around, so it's much easier to see when water levels are going up. Develop resources to assist with those local mitigation strategies, so helping Bradford with the group that he's got going, and then developing more local volunteer Dr. Stone mentioned, getting out there with the chainsaw. So the more that we can have some kind of grassroots effort to do that, the less that we'll be putting on the county departments as well. I can't say we'll take over everything, but oh, and then surface water, I mentioned increasing the number of sites. Again, developing some local volunteer support and increasing our public outreach on that, getting more of the word out there. Okay, land management programs, we really want to expand our invasive species. As people come into the county and the county grows, this one can really get fallen by the wayside, no pun intended. But you'll start to see more problems in areas, the more folks are coming through. They're just naturally bringing things in. We'd like to continue the great removal project that Dr. Still has been doing for a few years now. We do have some ideas to apply for grant funding in this area and expand that program capacity there, so that we can increase that volunteer base and plan some removal events. And we've actually been talking to a group called SISMA, which is a local and a statewide invasive species group who's able to help with some of these and possibly provide funding. Owner operator education, like I mentioned, our dinner was a really great success, so we're planning to bring that back. And expanding those tours. We're looking at one tour coming up in the fall with a livestock operator, and we'd like to just kind of see other operations so that people get a sense of what kind of things they can institute on their own, what better practices they can do. All right, like I said, revive the poster and speech contest with a sponsor. We have some past samples there. We get some really great info from the kids. We have a theme every year that has to do with soil or water or forestry. And then public events, we've really been trying to increase our reach there, have something fun and interactive for the kids to do, and have something they can take home. So at this event, we actually had ink made out of pine cones. They could paint a little watercolor painting and take it home with them. We also provided tree seedlings as a giveaway for the public, and those were some that we had left from our Arbor Day celebration we did with UFIFAS Extension this year. Okay, and then program development. These are the kind of things we want to grow. That local mitigation strategy group, our USDA working group are looking to put together a small group of farmers in the community who can help input on that funding advisement group. And our support mechanisms. I think I've said a lot of this, so I'll just start wrapping it up. Okay, and any questions? And I will say too, being somebody who's worked with recreation quite a bit in my career and knowing what government budgets are, we are most certainly willing to look for a reduction in our budget request. If that is at all helpful, I think that, you know, we have some ideas on acquiring extra funding, and I know I would hate to see that kind of opportunity pass by the wayside. All of these things are intertwined to me for the health of our community. So just to put it out there that we will definitely consider reducing our budget. Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you so much. Great presentation.
Thank you.
Bradford Cowboys Athletic Association, Rodney Mosley.
Good evening, everyone. As you said, I'm Rodney Mosley, a lifetime resident here in Stark and Lauder. I was asked to come represent the Bradford Cowboys today. Actually been a part of the program for 30 years now. 30 years, Coach Billy B has been part of the program for 50, 60 years. I'm going to tell you age. He's been a part of the program for quite some time. He actually was the person that got me started. And I didn't have a son in it to start out. He asked me to actually coach, and my daughter was cheering. So that's kind of how I got started. But we've actually been before you quite a few times to ask for sponsorship and donations for this program. Every year, explain to you what the funds are for, and we give you our budget, so on and so forth. We're definitely thankful for everything that you do for us. All right. Majority of the time, well, all the time, the monies that we receive is used for basically the safety of our children. Helmets, shoulder pads, uniforms, just the overall operation of the organization. Like I was saying last time I was here, I think the forecasted amount to operate the organization was around 28,000 or something like that. That's for
a whole year, because it doesn't just start or stop in the fall. It's a whole year. With prices going up and on everything, basically. Ms. Brandon done a little research on it. Along with myself, now we're up to somewhere around 37,000 to just purchase everything. Now, we never get to what we forecasted. We're a small county, small organization, but we make it work with whatever we have. Majority of the time with what you give, along with all the nonprofit organizations. So along with fees, donations, sponsorships, parents, just kind of helping out along the way, we make it work. We kind of a lot of times reduce that paperwork or that budget down to the essentials. We've done that year after year. I've actually been the president of the organization the last 12 years. I actually stepped down last year because I took on another business of mine that I'm a business owner here in Stark. So Coach Willie B is now the president, but I am on the board and I am involved in the day-to-day operation of it. So what we're doing this year, last year was 50 years of Cowboys, and we celebrated 50 years last year. Cowboys organization started in 74, longest running organization in the city as far as youth sports. I do want to say I like your idea as far as recreation. I think everything would run a lot better if we had everything under one umbrella. Football, basketball, baseball, so on and so forth, like it used to be. When I came through, when it used to be the armory right in front of the high school, and you go get your pads and everything from the armory, and we played football along with baseball. I mean, youth sports is kind of really falling off with everything that's going on with it, with money being hard to come by and prices of everything going up. Just an example, I'm from Lottie. Lottie always had a baseball program. It was, in my opinion, the best baseball program in the county for a long time. Now, it's almost like non-existent. We don't have those programs anymore. Right now, it used to be Lottie had a program, Stark had a program, Hampton, Brooker, everybody had a program. Now we're reduced down to just what happens at Edwards Road, or things of that nature. And I think it's because of we just, first of all, in my opinion, people don't care like they used to care. You just see it every day. I see it every year. People don't actually care. And I've said it, you had this slogan there, and I've said it a number of times right here in front of you guys. It's about the kids. I think we always use that slogan. It's always been used. But when we see actions, is it really about the kids, or because it always comes down to money? And I understand everything that we're talking about with budgets and all that, because I have budgets with my business too. But what happens is you can do what's important. You do what's important. You put things in priority, and you work in that way. Mr. Gordon was saying, this program, if you've really been around the program, Chris has been around, his son played in the program, a number of people in here has been a part of the program. This program has produced college graduates. It's produced kids that went on to military and retired from the military. And I can say that because I've been in it that long. I coached kids and coached their dad, now I'm coaching their kids. I haven't reached grandkids yet, but I've coached dads and been coaching their kids for quite some time. And it actually works. Right now in my barbershop here in town, I got a whole wall full of signatures of kids that's played and going on to do not just football, Army, Navy, Marines, and so on and so forth. It's establishing life traits, life skills, and that's all sports. So when you say, baby, putting it on the back burner, now you got to deal with kids that's out here doing wrong, doing things that's going to bring, you know, trouble, prison, or anything like that. And then we gonna complain about why they're doing it, because they didn't have anything constructive to do leading up to their high school years or after. So it's very important. It's very important. The recreation is very important, and everything else. Solid waste is very important. It is, you know. But like you said, you gotta weigh your options. I know your job. Your job is hard. It's hard, but don't put it on the back burner. Don't give up what you're trying to push for. Is what I'm saying. Continue to push for it, because I think it's going to be instrumental in Bradford County. It's going to be something positive if we can get something like that going. You just got to find a way. Just got to find a way. But we're here today to request 15 grand to help us continue this program. And like I say, it's 50 years running, and we've never ran and got everything we needed as far as to make it run. But I think just the couple people that's actually been a part of it and been the mainstays in it have made it happen. Whether it comes out of our pocket or however it works, we get it done. So again, you know, whatever you choose to do, we appreciate it, and we tell you thank you in advance. Sorry I didn't have a PowerPoint. I didn't know we were supposed to do a PowerPoint. I have one next time. So with that being said, is there any questions for me?
I just have a comment, Mr. Mosley. I agree with you. I had a grandson that's played for the last 4 years, and through that, I saw a group of young men who became very, very close.
Yes.
And I'm sorry. One of them, my stepdaughter, actually adopted. He was going through a horrible, horrible time. And we love that young man with all of our heart. And it breaks down walls. It teaches camaraderie. It teaches leadership. And it changes their lives in many ways. That is not just about playing a game. It has changed this county. This team in the last 4 years has brought this county together more so than I've ever seen it. I mean, we were lined up in the street watching buses come through. Exactly. I will always remember that. And so yes, this is more about the children and what they need sometimes, and people don't know what they're going through at home, or you know, the things they're dealing with. But I can attest personally, the changes that I've seen in my family, and it was a very, very positive thing that came about.
Yes, ma'am.
For us. And I thank you and Mr. Willie B for everything that y'all done. I mean, it goes beyond the words that we could say. Just to say thank you is very, very small thing. But it's all we have to say, to give you. But we really appreciate it.
Yes.
Just to say thank you very much for all that you do for the community.
Coach Willie's one of the hardest working guys I know. Yeah. Not just coaching, but just everything he does.
Yes, sir.
He puts his heart into it. I know you do too, Rodney. We appreciate you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You can go ahead. We were the Hampton Hornets. We used to come play you, a lot of guys. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
The Acorn Clinic, Tina Lloyd.
Good evening. I'm Tina Lloyd. I'm the executive director at Acorn Clinic. Acorn Clinic has been around since 1974 as well. Sounds like a few of us have. Acorn is a nonprofit dental clinic. A lot of people don't know that. I live 10 minutes away. I started last May, and I just did not realize the things that Acorn does as a whole in the communities that we serve. We serve 27 communities in 2024. 311 of those patients were Bradford County residents who had 896 procedures at our clinic. We bill only through Medicaid sliding fee cash pay, and we are not funded through federal government. There was a change in verbiage in the government level a couple of years back, and so ACORN somehow nonprofit status got removed from an approved qualified health center. Now, also with Senator Bradley yesterday, Senate Bill 2514 was passed, and nonprofit verbiage has been added back to that qualifying center. So that's going to be huge for Acorn Clinic. So please extend a thank you to Senator Bradley. I am so passionate. I'm listening to everybody here now. I wish I was a Bradford County resident, just saying. I am from Union County. I do have a big desire to give back to the community. And I think there's a lot of things that you all, if y'all come together as a team, y'all could make some change. 2 weeks ago, I started a back to school bash giveaway drive online and making calls. And I personally have raised $27,900 in 2 weeks. You can look on my Facebook and you'll see the different businesses are hunting me down to try to get their advertisement on my Facebook page. We come together as a community because what we see, and I know I'm supposed to be on Acorn, but I'm hearing these things, so I'm tying it all together. But what we were seeing was different backpack giveaways were all over the town. You'd have one over here, and so you'd have the same kids going to each backpack giveaway, and they'd end up with 4 or 5 backpacks for the, to go to school with. But in reality, a lot of the students that really needed them didn't even get taken to the backpack giveaway. So what I did, I have 8 other ladies that we work together, and we've been working together for 5 years. We go around and we get community buy-in by getting them to sign up, and now it's all one effort in Union County. And so I have 46 businesses participating in this backpack giveaway. That'll be July 19th. Now, moving to the second thing, Union County Impact is another thing we started. You may have seen it on Facebook, but I started that group because I wanted a place where people could network and, business building relationships. But we also wanted to use it as a place that community leaders and members could come together and identify disparities, whether it's healthcare, social, economic, jobs, recreation, roads, whatever it is, and talk about those identified issues and to identify areas that we could work on and come up with solutions together. We had our first meeting 3 weeks ago, and we had 85 businesses there, 100 people, and we have businesses that are supporting this effort by sponsoring the lunch to provide the meal for everybody. We had a venue donated for the space. So I think a lot of this is where you ask. I first want to respectfully change my ask to $25,000, which is $1,250 less than y'all did last year. Acorn loses $83 for every patient that sits in the chair. I will figure it out. I'm all about trying to do our part. A lot of people think you're just here wanting to ask for money. I do think outside of the box. So if it's a fundraiser dinner that we need to have, I started in May, and it was our 50th anniversary. So I said, well, if it's my place to raise money, what can we do? We'll have a dinner. What do you think my goal was for that dinner? $50,000. We profited $56,000 on that one dinner. But it's because we did ask. We asked for the venue space to be donated. We had the food donated. Only thing that we had a cost for was shirts that we put all of the vendors' names on the back of the shirt. So I do believe in trying to find every grant possible. We just got a Jacqueline grant out of Tampa. It's way down there, but I found it online, and they awarded us $25,000. Our budget is almost $700,000 a year, and we are very much right on the line. It's been challenging because the grants have decreased, but we just have to do our part. It's grant ask. I'm writing those grants and trying to use everyone. Wawa gave me $5,000. Wingstop gave me 6,000. So I'm looking every little place I can, looking every rock I can find, I'm looking under there. So I appreciate the support from you guys. I know that dental is necessary. A lot of people think it's just cosmetic, but it's not. It can cause heart disease. It can cause pneumonia, aspiration pneumonia. There's many different health issues that can be saved if we do the dental care correct and make sure that education is out there. So I thank you, each one of you, for your commitment to support our clinic. And if I can ask and answer any questions, I'd love to.
I just think we need to find a way to bring y'all across that line, that county line, and it's magic for us.
I'll tell you, I love that kind of thing. I am the co-founder of United for Cure Cancer Organization in Lake Butler, and that one walk every year, we bring in around 50 to 80,000. I'm the treasurer for Lake Butler Rotary, and with that, we do have a good group in there, but we raised $81,000 for one dinner for the Saddle Up Soiree. I'm the Woodman Life Treasurer, but that's about giving back, so we always try to find ways to give back. I am a big fundraiser. All I can say is if you don't ask, they can't tell you no. That's what I believe. So if I can help anybody, I'd love to.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for the wonderful work that you all do in service to our community.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 6, Snyder Electric.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'd like to make a couple of comments.
Okay.
So, when the board hired me, one of your primary directives was for me to go out and seek additional revenue sources for the county. I think we've done a pretty good job of that so far. Initially, we brought you utility franchise fees, and then, as was mentioned earlier, we increased the solid waste assessment. It looks like, well, I know we did raise fees associated with services provided by the fire rescue department. And now it looks like we're gonna get a fire assessment moved across the line. And then shortly following that, we'll be addressing impact fees. So this is just one more opportunity that we're bringing to you in terms of cost reduction and additional sources of revenue. So tonight's proposed item to be presented by the team of Snyder Electric is part of these efforts to fulfill my responsibility and my commitment to you and the residents of Bradford County. I want to begin by expressing my support for this project and its potential to reduce long-term energy costs, promote environmental sustainability, and position our county as a forward-thinking leader in renewable energy. At the same time, I recognize the importance of addressing any concerns and ensuring that the project aligns with our shared values and long-term planning goals. I trust in your thoughtful deliberation and support your decision, whichever direction you determine is in the county's best interest. With that said, I am pleased to welcome Mr. Larry Perrin and the team from Snyder Electric to present the project details and answer any questions you may have. Mr. Perrin?
Thank you, sir. And thank you, commissioners, for having us here tonight. I want to first of all commend you because we've been working with your staff for probably about the last 8 months now. I think this started in about September, October timeframe of last year, these conversations. And in that time, I want to commend you all because we've been through a lot of counties, and the amount of growth that I've seen here in this county is really incredible in that short amount of time frame. Just the gas stations alone are incredible. But I say that because you all have great staff here that have helped us through this process. They've been very supportive in getting us what we needed, working with us, bouncing ideas back and forth off of each other. Because, like your county manager said, when we looked at this initially, we understood that you all have deferred maintenance needs across the county. You operate facilities, and you, as many other small counties across not only Florida, but the rest of the country, are limited in funding. You're constantly asked to do more with less. You have limited manpower, you have limited funding, but you're also tasked with doing these things without raising taxpayer money. So one thing that we aim to do through this partnership is find ways to create cost savings, because we know that services that you all provide, we've heard it here tonight, are going up. We know that budgets are getting tighter. You all's budgets will be in a shortfall on certain things in the coming years because costs are increasing. So as we put this program together, one thing that we had in mind and that county manager asked us from the beginning was we need to make sure that whatever we do is going to save the county more money than it's going to cost the county over time. We understand that your county facilities are aging. That's never going to change. But one thing that we're doing through this partnership is looking for creative ways to fund those needs. So in this partnership, the number one thing, like I said, was create a revenue stream to address deferred maintenance. The second thing was to address failing roof systems here at the courthouse. One thing that we learned through our investigation at the courthouse and the jail is it's not just the roofs that are failing, and that's not where the water infiltration is necessarily coming from. The roofs are outdated, they are in need of repair and replacement, but there's also some other items that we found up there. There are some flashing issues on the two wings of the courthouse. I think you all replaced these roofs in 2016. We did some moisture scans. There were some areas where there wasn't proper flashing around HVAC drains. Those areas are leaking and causing wet decking and wet roofing insulation. So those are some areas that need to be repaired. There's sealant around windows that are failing. They've been caulked over time and time again, but there's water infiltration there. There's some skylights in the building that are leaking water. There's some stucco that has just deteriorated over time. So it's just general maintenance items that happen over time, but if they're not addressed, cause water infiltration to the building, compromising everything inside of the building from there. So that was the number one priority. Second priority was the 4 holding cells here at the courthouse. Those toilets are leaking. They've started to come away. We presented you all a presentation that has pictures of all these items. Those are in need of replacement, and making sure that those are up to standards for a correctional facility, making sure that they're properly adhered to the wall, safe, and that that's installed in a way that when inmates are held there to wait trial, that those spaces are safe, so those items cannot be removed or taken away from the wall up to correctional standards. The next item we looked at was LED lighting throughout the jail and the courthouse. This would provide operational efficiency, but also improve the lighting. As you can see in this room, there's different light temperatures around the building. The intent of the lighting was not so much to improve the lighting as much as it was to reduce operational costs. It's a low-hanging fruit that's just going to generate revenue for you all to address some of the other needs. Beyond that, we started looking, okay, how do we find the most effective way to fund this project? One thing that is an awesome opportunity for you all, something that you can take advantage of right now, but over time or soon here, if the federal government passes their current proposed tax plan, this federal tax credit for solar will go away. We have an opportunity to capture $800,000 in investment tax credits through the federal government to install solar here. You all have been talking throughout this meeting about rising costs. One thing that we all know, it's inevitable, costs of utilities are going to increase. You all are currently spending about $400,000 a year on your utility costs across the county. The idea with this project is to implement a solar array that is going to produce power that'll limit how much power you're going to need to consume on an annual basis over time. That reduction is going to be used to offset the cost of deferred maintenance needs throughout the county. You all have purchased the Douglas building. You all have purchased the fairgrounds now, and you've taken over ownership of that. You've got the library that you maintain, the Charlie John Center, the extension office, the jail, and this courthouse. So over time, one of the things that we talked about was knowing there are projects on the horizon that are going to need to be done from a deferred maintenance burden. How do we pay for these things out of existing operational dollars? So money that you're already spending on an annual basis through your utilities, how do we reduce that cost and put that towards funding these necessary improvements across the county? So the project we've proposed and discussed has those impacts, but it also takes into consideration making sure that this is implemented in the most effective and appropriate way possible. Making sure that any of the work that's done in the correctional facilities is done safely. Whatever's taken in is taken out. Everything that is installed is up to correctional standards that are necessary to maintain those facilities. Keep your jail staff, sheriff's department employees safe as they're working in those facilities, but also reduce the operational costs. We feel that this project is an incredible opportunity for you all to make an investment in the future of the county and save you a bunch of money. So on the back of the one pager that I've shared with you all, what this project has the opportunity to do is over the next 20 years, provide a guaranteed savings to the county. And then beyond that, solar panels are rated to last for 30 years. They have a 25-year performance guarantee associated with them, which is going to generate an extra $2.4 million over the life of the panels beyond what they cost. So we've got a project that right now costs $3.6 million. You're going to get a tax credit, which is $800,000. So it's going to take the $3.6 million project, reduce that to $2.8 million. You all are going to make an investment through your ARA funds of $350,000. So that reduces the total project value to $2.45 million. So for $2.45 million, you all have the opportunity to have a project that saves the county $6 million over the next 30 years and really makes some much needed improvements. As your county manager said, you all are constantly tasked to do more with less. We found a way that's going to really improve these facilities, and we're excited about the opportunity to work with you guys because in my career, I've worked in several different public sector clients, and one thing that's always remains the same is when we're working with our clients, how do we help you do more with less? How do we help you improve your facilities using your existing budget in a way that's not going to have you go to the taxpayers and ask for more funding to help upgrade these facilities? You want to be able to do things like was discussed tonight on recreational sports. You want to be able to do things like programs at the library, with the fair. So I think this project is an awesome opportunity for you guys to make an investment to fix your operating costs for the future, but also improve the county facilities now with some much needed projects that need to happen. So Cassie and I are here today. We're here to answer any questions that y'all have, talk through this. We want y'all to be comfortable with it. We've put a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of work into this with your team. And just really excited about the opportunity to work with you guys. So I'd like to open it up, answer any questions you may have, and talk through this a little bit more.
Question. Yeah, Mr. Chairman. What other Florida County projects are you working on or currently working on with maybe counties of our size with a limited budget like we have?
Yes, sir. So I moved here 4 years ago. We worked with Citrus County Commission. I'm working with several school systems. Holmes County Schools, Lake County Schools we're working with. We have a project on the agenda for approval there Monday the 23rd. Jefferson County Schools I'm putting work together for. So Citrus County is our one Florida reference on the county side. We've worked with several county commissions in Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and then, like I said, Citrus County here in Florida.
What type of project are you doing with Citrus County? Very similar to this? Is it something that you're currently under contract with?
Yes, sir. We've been under contract with Citrus County, I think, for the last 14 years, 12 or 14 years. So it's got a proven track record. It had many of the similar things that you all are looking at here. We did some HVAC work, some roofing work on the roof of their courthouse, lighting at several of their facilities. So it had some similar scope to this one. Yes, sir.
Could you speak a little bit to the longevity of the solar system and its long-term benefit?
Yes, ma'am. So I'll let Cassie chime in here as she is our lead project development manager on it. But the solar installation, the panels have an expected life of 30 plus years. They have a warrantable life on their performance production, so how much power they're actually producing, of 25 years. So what we're projecting here is that these panels are going to last 30 years. Obviously, anything past that 30-year period is going to be excess to what they're projected. Cassie, do you want to add to that, or did I cover it?
That pretty much covers it. Like you said, 30 years, 25-year performance warranty. There's not many other parts and pieces to the system. The racking system will last a full lifetime. Your inverters are something to consider. The life on those is a little bit less, but your solar system, the modules at least, should be lasting 30 plus years.
And if there should be a failure under their warranty, then you would guarantee that replacement or repair.
Yes, ma'am. So one of the reasons that we've had success with our partnerships is because once we've installed the project, because we have a savings guarantee associated with the project, we have to guarantee the performance of the system. In the event that the panels are not producing the power that they're supposed to produce, we're not going to be able to uphold our savings guarantee. Therefore, we need to replace the panels for you. So it is in our best interest as yours to make sure that if there's a warrantable issue, that that's handled under the scope of our project. Yes, ma'am.
What's the inverters and how long do they last?
The inverter converts the power from DC to AC. It really depends. We have a nice shaded area in both places to place your inverter, so 10 plus years on your inverters.
Okay, so what happens if they go out in 10 years?
You just replace them. It's like an operating cost.
At our expense or y'all's expense?
That would be at your expense, it's operating cost.
Are they expensive? What are they?
I would say they're like 10% of the total project cost. If I just have to put a number on it right now, but we can follow up with you on.
And it's something we could include.
Mm-hmm.
The hard thing is if you go include that, the thought process, it could last 10 years, it could last 15 years. Do you want to include the cost of something in the project that could potentially last longer and go replace it before it's failed? It becomes a decision that you all make. We chose not to because the thought process is if it fails 10 years, if it doesn't fail after 10 years, why replace it? Why incur the cost up front now? It's just not necessary, but it's something to consider. So, yeah, sure.
And the panels, in 10, 15 years, they start losing their, am I correct?
No, sir. If they're cleaned properly, which is what we're going to train your staff on how to do, this is something that we've talked with Rick and Jason about. If they're properly cleaned and maintained, they will not lose their production capabilities until year 25. So they're guaranteed to produce the same power from now through year 25 as when we install them. So as long as they're cleaned properly and maintained, they should produce the exact same power from day 1 to year 25.
And how many panels are we talking about?
There's a picture.
It's about 260
I saw the
kilowatts of power on each, the jail and the courthouse. I'm trying to remember how many modules off the top of my head.
We can get you an answer on
It's
that, the
about
exact number.
2,400, I think.
Well, and what I'm looking at is Jason's staff. That's gonna take a little while, isn't it, to maintain those?
I believe we gotta do it once a year, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
It's once a year. It's similar to washing windows. So you, like, similar to how you would spray for bugs, you get like a pump solution can. You spray solution on there. Usually that does it, but sometimes you may need to wipe with like a squeegee type item or a like scrub brush.
And you'll give us costs on the inverters, because I'm just thinking if
Yes,
it
sir.
starts breaking even at what, was it 14 years? What the inverters cost 300,000, then it really won't start breaking even until.
Not
Yeah, they don't cost, yeah, they don't cost 300,000. We'll get you.
We'll get you.
Yes, sir.
And I know it's 30 years out, but what happens with the panels then?
Yes, so we talked about this the other day in one of our meetings, and I can't remember who asked the question. You can choose to replace them, or you can choose to take them off and never put them back on. The thought on this is we're doing this to produce something. There's a tax credit. We can get these panels installed. You're saving $800,000 on the installation. You could replace them if it's cost effective at that time. You don't have to. You could jump back straight onto the power grid at that point if it makes sense, or look at replacing them. But I think that's a decision that's to be made at that time. It's not necessary.
I guess my question is, and I'm sure that you know, like in other places when the panels have been removed, if they are going to put new ones up, what happens with the old ones? I mean, what do you do with them?
Yeah, I mean, you can either dispose of them. I'm sure there's a way.
Where would you dispose of them? That's my question.
Because they have like precious metals, I think
Mhm.
typically how it would work is you would work with a solar group, or if you do another solar project, it would be included in their project to dispose of them. You would have to do a very particular, I think, waste disposal on the solar panels because of the makeup of them.
Cause you can't just take them to the.
No, ma'am.
No, not going to the landfill. But sometimes I know I do know that you can sometimes resell them to be repurposed at another point. So it's going to depend on.
And
how old they
you're
are.
talking 30 years in the future, so it's we can't say like, you know, they may come up with a new recycling opportunity or something like that. So it's just hard to say right now.
Mr. Chair? May I?
Yes, go ahead.
Just a few follow-up comments and questions. Mr. Perrin and his team have done a wonderful job in meeting with all of us and going over all of the details. And I think that his team has demonstrated what they needed to accomplish, which is showing a cost savings. It's just now a matter of us to determine what project we want to do. I know in the beginning, when we spoke about this, our primary focus and need was the courthouse roof. And I think we were very interested in seeing if there were grant opportunities that we could maybe go after to try to help, identify those opportunities to help address some of those needs of ours. Again, primarily being the roof. And I think this project has grown into, some other needs that I think we can all agree on, replacing some of the toilets in the inmate cells and replacing LED lighting. But it's just a matter of what is our priority and how quickly are we wanting to tackle these items. And I think the way that you were able to address that was doing it all at once and through solar panels. Certainly, it's worth looking at because there will be a cost savings after 14 years. We would see that return on the investment. But some of the things that I think that we still have to consider as far as our community, there is going to be a loss of revenue to the city of Stark if we were to implement this. And what does that mean to the city of Stark and their operations? As Mr. Riddick indicated earlier, they have limited revenue too. What is that going to mean to their citizens? Just speaking frankly, I'm a city resident, and if they lose that revenue, is that going to mean city residents are going to be charged an uptick in other costs? I don't know, but it's not something I think that we've had a chance to really explore and look at and determine. Also, I think just something that we need to look at too is what is the total cost of the roof repair and can we handle that internally? Do we want to look at our CIP and say, what do we want to maybe eliminate and what do we maybe want to tackle and apply those ARPA funds and continue to replace our light bulbs as they go out with LED lights and continue to replace things, as we need to instead of maybe all at once. I don't want to, say in any way that Mr. Perrin hasn't done a good job. He has. He came in, he did an analysis of our needs, and he created this big proposal as far as being able to address it all at once. It's just a matter of, do we need to address it all at once, or should we do it in phases? So, and I think Mr. Cornegay has done an excellent job in trying to find ways to, look at addressing those needs. So I certainly don't want to be critical in any way. I just think it's at this point looking at, how quickly do we want to tackle these things, and do we want to maybe do it a little bit. I'll give an example. I have a lot of equity in my home, and I have a lot of projects that I want to do in my home, but I'm not going after it to increase my interest rate. I'm just going to chew it off a little bit at a time. But that's me, that's my budget, and I just want to throw that out there for the board to think about.
Good point. Thank you.
Could I ask a question? Mr. Cornegay, are we receiving funds for the roof on the courthouse?
The only funds we'd be receiving would be the tax credit, the $800,000 tax credit for the installation of the solar.
So we didn't receive any appropriations for the
Well,
upgrades.
the $350,000 ARPA funds would be looked at as a down payment.
Okay.
No additional.
Did we request for upgrades?
Oh, you're talking about this year's appropriation? Yes, ma'am. We're, I think we're in the budget now for a million, a little over $1 million and change.
And that's for the upgrades in the jail, it's not for the roof.
That's correct. It is not for the roof.
And one thing that I will add, so you hit the nail on the head, Rachel, when you were just describing how the project has evolved. When we initially started looking at this, there was needs throughout the county. Your library HVAC work is going to have to be done. It's the way it was installed. There's strip fans that are not properly draining, so there's water dripping through the roof there. The extension office has humidity issues that are ongoing because of how the HVAC system is set up over there. We've talked about the roof here, roof of the jail, the gutter system over at the jail, the toilets here at the courthouse. The project evolved, and I think this is exactly to your point. The reason we looked at the solar was because, and I'm like a Southern boy. I grew up in Louisiana. The solar thing for me took a little minute to understand. I look at it as a financial benefit. We can get an $800,000 tax credit. Money doesn't grow on trees. My take on this is, how do we do this in a way that sets the county up for financial success? If we can come up with a project that the federal government's willing to pay for almost half of the solar cost, and it's going to generate excess savings for the county, you've got those needs at the library. You've got needs at the jail, both interior and exterior to the building. You've got the extension office. If this project can save you more money, that you can over time address those things as that savings comes in, great. By no means would I say, hey, do solar for the sake of doing solar. That, to me, it doesn't do any good, and that's not why I'm here. I'm here to help you. Your county manager asked me to find ways to save money so we can do these projects in an effective, cost-effective manner. So when we looked at it, it evolved to including solar, because if the federal government's willing to pay for it and it's not coming out of Bradford County taxpayers' pockets, then I see that as a financial benefit. So that's kind of how this evolved into what it was. So I think that was a great point as well.
And I see that you've offered us 3 options.
Yes, ma'am.
One just dealing with the courthouse kind of renovations, and then the possible jail. And when I was looking through the data that you provided, it seems that the jail is the one building that that we spend the most money for.
Yes, ma'am.
For power.
Yes, ma'am.
But the courthouse is only about 96,000 as opposed to 231,000
Yes, ma'am.
a year for that. And so when I'm looking at on the investment side, we're able to get the 800,000 credit. It may be worth looking at the courthouse for the 1.5. When I look at the fact that it would take 20 years to really realize a significant savings, perhaps that's an option that we could look at. But when I think about the other options, we still have to spend almost about 380,000 a year for a while for the power, for the electricity costs still. And then over time, how many years then would it take to realize the savings for it? So those are the critical pieces for me to look at, weighing all those factors. So it may not necessarily be feasible to do the max, but perhaps we could look at the lesser option.
Yes, ma'am. I think option number 3 was year 14. I think is where it started seeing a positive return on investment every year from then through however long the solar panels last. If it's 25 years and then they start degrading in performance, you start saving a bunch of money at that point from year 14 on. If they last 30 plus years, then yeah, $2.4 million. So I think it's definitely, there are things to consider with all of the options. I think regardless of what we determine, I say we, what you all determine, because you're the ones that get to make the decision. No matter what, there's a great cost savings that can be had that can be used to upgrade your county facilities. So I think there's 3 great projects that we presented you all. It ultimately is going to come down to what is the most financially advantageous for the county over time, and then how does that address your needs? Because I know budgets are tight, like we talked about several times. So just trying to bring you guys different options so you can make an educated decision.
And I guess I have one, and the sheriff is here, and Mr. Carnegie can also answer. If it came to, with the jail being 380-something thousand annually for electricity, can the portions of the jail set aside fund be used, because it is the jail, to address that issue?
The jail right now uses $231,000 a year in utilities, and to your point, it is obviously going to be the highest utility cost. It's a 24/7 facility that people are living in, so that's obviously, why that's the case. So
Yeah, I can't speak for the sheriff.
I was putting you on the spot, Sheriff.
Yeah, we've been making the upgrades, with that, we've been using jail set aside fund to do that. So we've been doing those things to fix the lights, insulation, floors, sealers, y'all remember, we've been doing all those along the way.
Yeah.
You can fix all the toilets today, but you can have one inmate destroy another one, so those are constant things that we do all the time anyway. Plumbing, we've done things where they can't flood the jail, chopping systems, so they don't flush certain things before it gets in the sewer system. A lot of those things that we do along the way, we take out of that jail set aside, so that's been something we've been doing all the way. Roof, I think, we looked at it, guy says resealing, doing the things we need to do. I worry about putting more weight and stuff on there because of what we have, not sure about how all that plays into, in solar panels. I wasn't asked, I'm just going in, so I don't know, this, like I say, I just heard it come up here recently, so here I am, but, yeah, we're gonna keep doing what we do, regardless of what y'all decide to go there. I mean, if you wanna do that, that's great. I think maybe, I'll be honest with you, I think personally ourselves, going out and contracting, doing these things, I think we do it much more efficient and, with a hands-on way, and like I say, 70% of it has been replaced LED. So, other than doing the roof repair, you see the new gutters, we've got the gutters up, came from that, the new guttering system, those type of things we do along the way as we have the money to set aside and we ask them to do it.
Can I ask you about your gutters, because you said they were in bad shape, right?
yes,
They're branded.
Yes, sir. That's why yes, ma'am. That's why his team is going to replace those. So those,
Oh, so we don't have to replace them.
not the guttering system, no. Now there still are those, I guess the fasteners.
So the gutters, what we have heard from maintenance staff is that it's still draining over the edge of the gutter, so it's not evacuating the water properly. They were thinking it was because it was set at the incorrect height. So they were going to adjust the height so that it catches more water to evacuate it properly.
We put bigger gutters than what were on there originally. They do it, you still get the same problem, high, steep roof, you still get some overshoot, which
Right.
is part of it. Jason, they have to come do the asphalt sometimes, you get gaps in that. But it's been there 25 years. Oh, probably longer now.
Yeah,
I was
well, I was just
I've been
wondering.
here when the building was built, but I think those are things we just been doing along the way. It's up to you, the commission, but, a lot of these things, I say we self-contract, we can do, like I say, they were sent over, I didn't have a whole lot of knowledge of it. I know the history of the building, I've been here since day one, walked the first one to walk in that facility, as a new one, so I've seen a lot of the changes, and we just kind of been fixing it as it goes along, such as the lights, such as insulation, such as new air conditioning handlers units. We've been having to upgrade and replace as we go along as they wear out. So I believe in using it until it wears out, get what we can. And reducing the light bill, which we have, we set waters to tepid, met the state statute, so we have to keep the water boiling all the time. Feels good in the summer, it feels nice and warm in the winter, if you keep the water tepid, meet certain standards. Replacing LED lights, putting timer switches, sealing the floors, we come back up, y'all helped us a couple of years ago, we resealed all the floors and redone all that, so we've done a lot of those things along the way.
Thank you, Sheriff.
One last thing.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Is it possible to see what the cost would be if you just did the jail?
Just the jail solar. How we showed you option 2, but flip the jail instead of the courthouse and the impact, yeah, we can do that. Yes, ma'am.
The reason I'm asking is because when I look at all of the figures, that's the greatest cost.
Yes, ma'am.
That's, the courthouse is only 96,000 a year,
Yes, ma'am.
which would be a manageable fee, but the jail is over, over $250,000.
A year.
I'm just-
Yes, ma'am. We can look at that. I think we looked at it compared to the courthouse and.
There's just some design considerations. So with the courthouse, you have a flat roof that is very easily accessible. So it makes it a lot easier to clean the panels. You also have you have an ideal spot to put them. You have a mechanical penthouse, with one side that is, typically shaded with the way it's positioned. So there were like design considerations that went into, preferencing the courthouse solar installation over the jail if you were to only do one. But that does not mean that we could not look at doing the jail because it is definitely a higher consumption facility. I think also you just have to look at it from an overall reduction in your utility costs rather than, I guess, facility wide, unless you are going to be appropriating specific funds from that budget to that project, if that makes sense.
And one thing that I'll add here, the reason that the impact and reduction is greater at the courthouse than it is at the jail, you have a higher consumption at the jail, but we collectively as a team and looking at this with your staff decided it would be better to not put panels on the part of the building where there are inmates, just because of how that circular, or I guess rectangular shaped building is, polygon, I don't know exactly what shape it is. The way it is positioned, it isn't really conducive for supporting solar the way that it needs to be. So the payback on the investment would not be there. So our ability to produce enough power to fully offset the cost of that facility, that's why you're seeing a greater reduction here at the courthouse than you are there. Now, I will add, I think the overall reduction at each facility is within $5,000, give or take, a year in cost reduction. So what we can do is we'll run the numbers on it. We'll get those to you all so you can look at it and make a decision. But just wanted you to have all the information on how we arrived at the decisions that we did arrive at. Yes, ma'am.
And I won't press it anymore, but when I think about the amount that the electricity costs for the jail in 5 years, if you had the solar, you could realize the savings, significant savings there. Because you're gonna spend, you would have saved $1 million in 5 years without having to pay that 231,000 annually.
Oh, so one thing on that, partially correct, partially incorrect on that information. So we're not fully reducing the utility. We're not going to zero on the facility. They are still going to require to purchase some power. The reason we didn't offset the cost 100% is there's a point of diminishing returns. So there becomes a point where it's going to cost X amount to install it, and it's only going to save so much. In order for us to install an array that would fully offset your utility costs at the jail, there would be months that you're overproducing power that you're not using, and the amount of credit that you're getting back from your net metering agreement would not make sense. So you'd be producing more power than you're using half of the year. So therefore, it would not make sense to install that much solar. So that's how we right-sized it to the minimum month of production, making sure we maximize the production in that minimum month. So February, you use the least amount of power, you'll be fully off the grid or right at that line in February. And then the other months, you may have a little bit more costs per month. But that's just how we decided to put that together because it's the best bang for your buck. Yes, ma'am. Any other questions?
Any other questions? Mr. Cornegay, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, sir, I believe, Larry and Cassie covered it all quite well, and some good questions have been asked. We'll move on from there.
Thank you all very much for your time this evening.
Thank you so much for all your time you put into it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, item number 7, recommendation to approve a bid for Southeast, County Road 325, Hampton, Trailhead. The FDOT financial project number 447120-1-38-02, from John Hill Construction, for the $349,606.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve, the bid for Southeast County Road 325 as read by the chairman.
We have a motion from Commissioner Daltrey.
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Thompson. Is there any questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we,
Go ahead.
do we know what, his bid was, the gentleman that's in the,
Yes, he also bid, 349 and a number that was slightly less than 666. So they were within $200 bucks of each other.
$300?
A few hundred. I don't know the exact, I mean, I can give you the exact number. It's, 362, 142, I'm sorry. 349,087.50 was the gentleman who spoke to you earlier, and then HIP is 349,606. So they were within 500 change.
And I don't work with a company like this, so I'm just asking, is this the normal way that, I mean, if there's a piece of documentation missing, that we don't give them the bid?
I think that the issue that has arisen is that these are FDOT funds, and the only way something could be waived like that would be, it would have to go back to the state. So there would be a delay while that occurs. I don't know the length of that delay. I'm not saying that's why you do or not do something, and that's just a fact. You can't unilaterally say, yeah, we're gonna waive that. That would be something that the department would need to reflect upon. Number one. Number two, Mr. Doherty's, I've been doing this type of law for a long time. There's rules for a reason. You submit your documents in accordance with the parameters of the bid, and when that, and there's a deadline, and then when that's not conformed to, then there is often what could be perceived as unfair, but that's the rules. I'm not going to tell you that waiving doesn't happen in the world. I'm not going to tell you that you couldn't pursue trying to see that the department would waive this situation. You perhaps could do so. What that then does is create a whole new set of issues, which is it material deviation from what the specifications were? In other words, then you have another person that didn't get the bid, who then has a potential complaint that, hey, I followed the rules, what's the problem? I'm not saying that that's a complaint that would carry the day if they were to do something about it or not, but I'm just presenting to you all, my experience and how these things unfold. That all being said, the motion in the second that was made, if it were approved, that would be something that I, as your attorney, would be very comfortable in defending.
My question that I want to raise. I want to be clear that everything was done, of course, above board, but I'm assuming it's a sealed bid or it's uploaded to our system that is reviewed by multiple people and looking at all of those documents that were submitted based on the criteria that was outlined of what needed to be in there. There's no chance that something could have not been scanned or went through or any of that kind of thing. That
I don't know.
So I just wanted to be clear on that piece, assuming that it's been reviewed by our staff for all of the documents that were to be contained therein.
So DOT engages a engineer to kind of watch over these matters and then comments to DOT what they see in the bids. And included in that commentary was concerning FDOT pre-qualifications per LAP specification 2.1 at its sole discretion, the department may waive pre-qualification requirements on contracts of 500 grand or less. So the engineer pointed out that there was a failure to comply, but you know, the department could wait. And that's, I've said that. I'm not saying that couldn't happen. It could happen. But I'd also told you the other things, which is that motion second were passed. That would be something that I would be very comfortable with as your attorney. I'm not telling you to do that, saying you need to do that, saying you have to do that. But you also are faced with these competing matters, and it's difficult. And I feel badly for the individual who came here tonight. He's obviously has good business. You know, these are not easy things, putting these packets together. I get it.
No, they're not, and they do take a lot of time, and I appreciate the time that you put into that. And certainly, I mean, I've seen, you know, people come sliding in at 2:01 when the bid's due at 2:00, and you know, it's, well, hey, I couldn't find a parking place. Well, you know what? You had 30 days. You know, so there's so many things that really go into, you know, that checklist. You know, you've been doing this for a while, I'm sure, especially if you guys are DOT certified. So I know if you were submitting a project that was a federal highway or, you know, anything like that, then certainly, I mean, if you're missing a signature, you're out, you're done, you know. So you know, again, it's very unfortunate, and like I said, I've been a part of it, and I've seen it happen. And again, like I said, I think that, you know, based on the bid requirements that were out there, there was something that was missing in the bid requirements, and therefore that box wasn't checked. So again, I'm just, you know, standing with my motion, and I'm sure that there will be other projects in Bradford County that, you know, I hope you would come back to bid on. But you know, this time, like I said, I'm standing by my motion anyway.
I just wanted to be clear that if there was something missing, but if the document wasn't there, then I'm okay.
And I was the same way. I just didn't know the complete process, and just wanted to make sure that that everybody was given the same opportunity. That's all.
And I hate it. I do. I hate it for you from missing out on a bid like that for one document.
Can I address the board?
Well, we already have a motion.
We got a motion and a
Yeah, second. Yeah. Yeah, so, again, and like our attorney said, DOT reviewed this is what they kicked back, and this is what they recommended.
Well, I mean, I've said what they said, what their comments were.
Yeah.
And what their comments were that it was at their sole discretion, the department. I mean, that not the BCC.
Right. Fine, everybody good? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, move on to the clerk's report.
Mr. Chair, Board, Clerk Thompson regrets that he couldn't be here tonight. He's attending a conference in Orlando, a clerk's conference. And Dana Follett, as you see, is not with us as well because she's attending a finance conference as well. So you just have me tonight. And I just want to say that, you know, our office will do what it can. We will meet with the county manager and see what we can try to find in our budget. I mean, we certainly support the initiative of recreation. We see the value of it. And I want you to wholeheartedly see that from us. I know often we're sometimes portrayed as the bad guys when we have to sometimes show the reality of where the dollars are and sometimes what our our spending is, and sometimes it's not. I just want to remind everyone too that not so long ago, we're talking maybe 10 years ago, and that may seem like a long time, but it really wasn't. Our auditors were warning us that we were going into our reserves, and that if we continued in that path, in 5 years, we would be broke. And for the first time, because we are at 10 mils and because we've maintained our spending, our fund balance is growing. So you all would be disappointed in this office if we didn't report to you, when our spending is increasing, so that way we can try to continue to make sure we're keeping that balance. So that's all we're doing. I do think that there's some areas in the budget that we can look at, and that's what we'll do as a staff and a team to try to look back so we can, because we do believe in that initiative. And I think, as you indicated, Mr. Riddick, this could be a self-sustaining operation. I think that makes a big difference, obviously, if we're looking at a 2-year commitment. So let us see what we can find.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you. Sheriff's report.
Nothing, sir. We're all good.
County manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to point out to the board that Chief Carter attended the commission meeting, city council meeting in Lottie last night, and they unanimously approved the fire assessment. So the city of Lottie is now on board. The next thing I want to mention is the next meeting of the Bradford County Fair Association will be at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, June 24th, at the Fairgrounds building. They're going to conduct a tour of the fairgrounds and then hold a meeting in Building 3. The next is the Florida Association of Counties Annual Conference. It'll be held next week in Orlando, with a total of 5 of us going, so we're looking forward to the participation there. And then lastly, the Florida Association of Counties calendar contest has opened. So this year, the theme is Florida Flower Power. So we would encourage anyone in Bradford County to submit a photo that could be considered for inclusion in next year's calendar. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. County attorney report.
Nothing to report.
All right, commissioner comments. I'll start with Commissioner Dalton.
And I don't have anything, thank you.
Yes. I wanted to thank the concerned citizens. I sponsored a science bus for the concerned citizens summer camp, and it was a wonderful experience for our children, the children there who attended. It's important that we impart to the children that learning can be fun and to get them engaged in science. And they had a really good turnout. We had Dr. Steele there, we had Carol Mosley, and Mr. Wilson, who actually brought the science bus, and the kids had just a great learning experience there. So we need to do more of that in the community. I want to express my appreciation to Mr. Weeks and his absence and reaching out to one person in the community who really needed some help. And that program is being effective in helping people in the community. I wanted to say to Mr. Carnegie, we have asked you to look at methods and means in which we can engage in that would be cost saving over a long period of time, not for short times, but long periods of time. So we have to look critically at areas that we can realize the savings over time. So if there's any way that we can look at a solar program, even if not being able to implement the most costly one, to look at it and see if it's possible and that we could benefit from it, like, with the jail. And to you, Chairman Riddick, never let go of dreams. The children are important, our community is important, so it's not a no, but it's a matter of looking at whether or not we can sustain a program within our existing budget, because we have encouraged this board, clerk department, it's encouraged us to have some contingency funds so that we can maintain and sustain ourselves if we need to have an emergency, if we have an emergency. So we can't deplete everything that we are trying to save for a rainy day and not knowing the tenement of the political situation or whether we may have property taxes reduced in another year or so. So we have to consider all of those things and how we can maintain and sustain ourselves based on the revenue that we're generating and to look for new means. So I think that it's something that we could possibly do for recreation, and it's not a no, but it's just figuring out how to do that. Tomorrow is a holiday, Juneteenth. It marks a significant event in the life of African American in our nation. It was the ending of slavery, and it was in Texas on June 19th, 1865 was the last day that slavery was enforced in our country. So we're fortunate to live in a country in which all people are free and that we're brothers and sisters. And so that's a significant holiday for us. And I'm appreciative to our county for recognizing that and celebrating it with the rest of the nation. And to say thank you to all. And I'm just appreciative of this board and that we talk through things. We try to work through and process things together as a group, and that's important. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Thompson? Yeah, I'd like to thank each and every one for coming out tonight. And I'd like to thank Miss Rachel, Miss Clark, and all. Y'all do a super job. I don't know how y'all do it. I ain't got no hair, but I know Benny's getting a little thin over there. But I appreciate y'all's office, what y'all do. Try to keep us straight, spending and wasting money. So, thank y'all. You go ahead.
Okay. Well, I'd like to say, thank you to the chair, who is, looking to cut his budget. And I'm hopefully that we'll get some money that may help with this project. I gotta thank Jason. Jason has been there for me a lot this week and last week, getting some little last minute projects done before the rains all get here. And Jason, I really appreciate it very much. And I'd really like to get with you, ma'am, and talk about some fundraising. I mean, absolutely, because as we see, this is not just a county desire, and it's not just a city desire. It's the Board of Commissioners, what I meant. It's the whole county that would like to see this implemented. So, in my opinion, if we put it out there, like you said, the only thing can happen is they say no. But I would very much like to help, maybe we're doing some fundraising and to kick it off and get it started. And the gentleman sitting right directly behind you is the world's best at helping with fundraising. He can draw the money out of people, I promise. He gets it out of us. Just kidding, Sheriff. But
Got a gun, it helps.
but he does. He's very helpful in anything that we try to do. So if you would just wait a little bit, I'd really like to talk to you about that. And Mr. Riddick, we're gonna make it.
All right.
We are.
I appreciate it.
Mr. Riddick, before we go on, can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
And I mean this from my heart too, because, you know, we've talked about this and we all talk about, I mean, you know, everybody else making cuts and different departments and everything. And so I'm sitting here running some numbers and thinking about this on my own. I want to put the board on the spot here. We've not talked about cutting our own, being us and what our salaries are. There's 26 more weeks left starting July 1st. $192. $192 coming out of our paychecks, a deduction every 2 weeks would be $5,000 apiece from each of us. So I'd like for y'all to consider that.
Let's do it.
If we get the rec going, I'm in.
That's $25,000. So there's a fundraiser right there. We just raised $25,000 if we're all in.
And I do believe people across the county will be the same way. They'll be proud to be a part of it. I honestly believe that.
Do more, that's fine with me, but I'll be the first one to say, I'm all in.
Wow, I
Is that-
just got 25,000 for you.
Let's do it.
That
Sure,
sounds
it's gonna
good.
get part of your salary. Just
I'm
kidding.
working hard
Just
now. I
kidding.
want like my big picture up there. I want a big picture when y'all go in the gate.
Is that, I mean, that's something that we can do. We just get with payroll and just have a deduction.
Well, it's a little more complicated than that.
A little more
There's a
complicated.
statute that talks about what you make and all that. But I'll work with the clerk and we'll talk about potential options. I just don't want you to have to pay taxes on your donation. You can understand what I'm saying?
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And so that's, I'd rather just not get the amount, but these are very sensitive matters and that's for y'all to work out and talk and all this kind of stuff that I know that I'm sure the citizens appreciate the sentiment. And, but there may be some laws that prevent you from being so generous. But we'll talk about it. Okay? I understand the intent and certainly do everything to make your intent be effectuated. I just don't want you to get in a situation where you're paying taxes on money you didn't get.
Well, I don't want to do as I say and not as I do, you know, so.
Understood.
That-
And I'm not, I don't want to put around the parade, but you ask the question.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris. Okay. Again, I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight. Great presentations. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Snyder Electric. We'll see what happens, but thank you everyone for being here. And there's nothing else to come before the board. Meeting adjourned.